Divided Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. At the time, it seemed like the most meaningful line ever delivered in a movie. It was talked about for months after City Slickers came out. If you remember Curly, the hard-nosed cowboy riding down the trails with Mitch, that greenhorn city slicker. They're riding the trail, and Curly turns to Mitch and he says, "Do you know what the secret of life is?" And Mitch, that's why he went out to the west to wrangle cattle and ride the trails. He said, "No, what?" And Curly says, "It's one thing. One thing." And Mitch says, "Your finger?" And he said, No, just one thing matters in life." And Mitch said, What's the one thing? What's the one thing?" And he says, "Well, that's what you have to figure out." And Mitch is thinking, "I knew that when I got here. That's why I'm here." I thought it was total nonsense when I heard it, because I had been raised going to church, and I had always heard I had a purpose and that God had a plan for my life, and it was just my job to figure out what that plan was. And if I got it wrong, I just have to start over and figure out the plan. And all through college, I remember saying, my Christian college, "Well, I'm just trying to figure out what God's plan is for my life." And all of us were just constantly talking about it. And it was the most stressful thing I could think of, because what if I major in something thinking that's what God's plan is for me, and I borrow all this money, and I get done and realize, oh, that wasn't what God's plan was for me. I'm going to have to go back and start over. Well, Solomon grew up knowing what God's plan was for his life. He was raised to be the king, at least for a lot of his life. And he now has inherited the throne of his father, David. And so Solomon does what ancient Middle Eastern kings do. In the Levant, he goes to offer a sacrifice. And when he is there, just as we heard last week with Jacob at Bethel, God comes to Solomon in a dream, and God says, "What do you want? What should I give you?" Imagine what that would be like. You're asleep or falling asleep, and you hear a voice which you are sure is God's voice. You don't know how you know, but you just know. And God says to you, "Betty, what do you want? What do you want me to give you?" I didn't think Betty was paying attention for just that second. I'm kidding, Betty. What would you say? There's so much to consider. I mean, this isn't the genie in Aladdin. This is God. Is this a test? Am I supposed to say what I really want, or am I supposed to say what Mother Teresa or St. Francis would want? How am I supposed to answer this question? But then a really hard question would come to my mind. Do I know what I want? I'm not sure that I do. I know some things that I want, but this is God. I doubt God is willing to let me turn this in a 10,000-word essay. People don't just blabber on and on around God. You're going to get one sentence. You're going to get to say one thing. It's a really simple question. What do you want? But simple and easy are not the same thing. It's not an easy question under normal circumstances. And of course, what all of us want is a fulfilling life, right? Raise your hand if you would like a fulfilling life. I think we all would, right? But of course, then the question is, what fulfills us? If we made a list, I'm sure most of us would put something like a good career, strong relationships, good health. Are those answers good enough for God? I know people who have good careers, seemingly strong relationships, good health, who aren't happy. And I know people who, according to some measures, have terrible careers, no relationships, and terrible health, but they're happy. This is a tricky question. And one reason I think it's really tricky is that we all know what we want. We really know. But the problem is our whole lives, it's been out of reach. And so we've been telling ourselves for years that we don't really care about that, to give ourselves, to ease the burden. For example, we all want to be healthy, but healthy choices are hard to make, so we tell ourselves we don't really care. Another reason we struggle to know what we want is the complete opposite of that reason, and that's what I've heard some psychologists call reactance theory. And that's if we believe our freedom might be limited in some way, we're going to just do the opposite, no matter how logical that might be. If someone tells me I can't eat something, that is suddenly the thing I really want to eat. You know, when I was in high school, if my mother had said, you can't date that girl, I would have wanted to date them so bad in that moment. So if we feel society or our parents or anyone or anything who has authority over us telling us, you need to go to college, get a decent job. If you want to have a fulfilling life, there are many of us who will do everything we can do to avoid doing that, because we want our freedom. Another big reason we struggle to know what we want is we're paralyzed by the past. By choices we made a long time ago, or by something someone else did, or something that happened to us. And we can't accept the potential of future fulfillment or happiness because we just don't believe that's possible. And so we walk around for reasons like all of these three reasons, blind to the good things we could do, blind to our own potential. So what do you want is a pretty tricky question. But I want to throw in one more layer of complication, just for fun. We all know we want happiness and fulfillment, but the problem is the things that we are often told will do that for us just don't quite get us there. I'm a priest, and you are at church, so you should not be surprised at what I'm about to say. Apart from God, no career, no relationship, no amount of good health will bring you happiness and fulfillment. What I mean is this: we all need to do something to make a living. Careers are important. But for fulfillment and happiness, you really need meaning and purpose. And I don't know how you find that apart from God. I don't know how it's possible to have a good relationship if I don't love my neighbor as myself, if I don't believe that I should do unto others as I would like to have done to me, if I don't understand the idea of turning the other cheek, or if I haven't been changed by the self-sacrificial love of Jesus. Without those things, there's no community, no group of neighbors, no set of friends, no married couple who will be able to live together and find a fulfilling relationship. The amazing thing is that, according to our reading this morning, Solomon had a sense of all of that as a young man. Later is a different story. But as a young man, he knew this. His answer is amazing. God shows up and says, "What do you want?" And Solomon says, "Give me understanding so I can lead your people and so I can tell the difference between good and evil." Solomon is saying, basically, my dad is dead. I'm suddenly the king. I have this huge responsibility. I'm not ready. God, give me wisdom. Help me to know right from wrong. And God is pleased that Solomon has asked this. Even though he might be asking out of desperation and fear, it's a good enough motivation. And so I think the secret to life really is one thing. And you have to figure out what it is. Curly was right, it turns out. Because Solomon could have said a million other good answers. And as long as they weren't selfish, I'm sure God would have said, "Great, good answer. I'll give you that." Because there are many good things we can do. And I think God is looking at us and saying, "Great, go and do that. But don't forget to love your neighbor as yourself while you're doing it. Don't forget to treat others as you would want to be treated while you're doing it." God can work out God's purposes through you in many different ways and through many different people. I hope that if God ever shows up and asks me that I'll have the kind of integrity or desperation that Solomon had to live my life with purpose and meaning.